we're gonna go in. I've also got a new layout. Um, yeah. So. Mm, mm, awesome. All right. Well, so this morning, we did watch the Pokemon Presents. Well, I watched it here. Obviously, I look. Don't mind my background. I need to make my bed. Um, but yeah, we watched the Pokemon Presents this morning. And what are your general feelings on it right now? Yeah, yeah. And for me personally, and I've kind of gone over this with some of my friends earlier. It's like it was okay. I joke a lot that I like with some of my friends. I was like, this shit was buns, but like it's it comes from a mixture, kind of like you said, like not seeing enough from pretty much anything, and yeah, we'll get into those later. But it's I don't know. I don't know why we expect a lot from these because it's not like we ever gotten a lot, right? But like I think this year was. Go ahead. Yeah, 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 and that's kind of what I was gonna touch on because after a 2 year gap. Granted, I have a personal complaint with Pokemon where I think they. I don't know if I want to say they do like too much, but like the year after year after year really starts to show like its wear on the game. Specifically, Scarlet and Violet are the most recent like byproducts of this. Um, yeah, and that was for me. I know it was for you too, but it's just like I saw them like take this 2 year gap, and I was kind of expecting like something insane. Granted, not from like every different part of it. Um, of course, I saw people throwing around rumors that we were once again going to see the classic games either on NSO, which I yeah, I don't I haven't been expecting it just because the past couple of years of I've been jaded. Um, but at the same time, it's like I wish they would do it, but I don't know. Another rumor I saw before we get to the main stuff was a rumor that they were going to have a physical collection of all of the Pokemon games rather than like an NSO thing. So and I think the most like unrealistic part was that they had it priced at like $40, and I'm like, no, they they would. I see them charging 60 for it, and people would still buy it. You're getting nine game. You're getting nine whole games. And I think an issue I have with that, right? With NSO, it's kind of more like I can look past it because it's NSO. You pay $50 a year, you get this stuff basically free, with your subscription. So with that, it's fine. With a physical collection, you get red, blue, silver, gold, and then like leaf green, and fire red, and it's like why would I have four of the same game and yellow as well, and it's like what that yeah, yeah. Well, you would imagine, but like Emerald doesn't have all of Gen 3 in it. Like Metatite isn't in Emerald, which is wild. But um and I saw another rumor, and I'll end it after this. But I saw another rumor that the physical collection was actually going to be split into two collections. So one was going to have red, gold, fire red, and ruby. And the other one was going to have blue, silver, leaf green, and sapphire. And I was like, that is the that is yeah. Yeah, that's in my head. This is an awful idea. But yeah. But anyways, so to get the small stuff out of the way, they start off with Pokemon Concierge. I don't know if you watched that. Um, yeah, it's on Netflix right now. This sounds like a sponsor. I'm but it is on Netflix. They also released all the episodes for free on YouTube, so I thought that was neat. It's a neat little supplemental series. Nothing crazy, but it's like it's kind of neat. Um, I really love it because especially with all the different like textures and methods they use to make the Pokemon into little models, it's a really good series. Um, yeah, and then beyond that, they went into their mobile stuff. So like, I forgot the update for Pokemon Go. I don't really play Pokemon Go. Okay, I I could have sworn they were already in. I see. I see. Yeah, and the thing I like Go. I just get very tired of it. Like I'm very off and on, but that off and on is like a year off, and then like 2 months on, and then back off. 2 months is kind of a stretch, honestly. Um, and Masters EX, which e- every time I pick it up, I can't get into it. I don't know why. It's weird. Yeah, 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 and it's weird because it's I also don't play mobile games, but I say that as I move into Pokemon TCG Pocket. If you've noticed, I've skipped over Unite. I don't play Unite. You don't play Unite. They do have a Alolan Raichu, and that was kind of hype. I feel like there's it was Suicune, Alolan Raichu. Oh oh God, there's the drink, the puzzle game. There's a yeah. Yeah, I always forget about Cafe. Yeah, yeah. And there was one more for Unite. I forget who it was. And Unite seems so neat if it wasn't just League. And look, that'd be interesting. That would be very interesting. Um, I know Suicune, Alolan Raichu, and then there was someone else. There was three. There's three dudes. Yeah, yeah, it is Alchemy. For 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 a MOBA? For a MOBA? Yeah, that was that was funny. I was kind of like looking at the trailer. I was like, oh my god, what is this? And then it was just Unite, and I was like, oh well, I already will play that. And then we got the TCG and TCG Pocket news, which I don't play the TCG. Mega cards coming back are very cool. They're a little less like flashy than they were back in like 2015. Um, which of course like I don't. Yeah, that was really cool, and I don't mind the new look because I do like some simplistic stuff. But what's odd to me is that like they have the same kind of look as the tarot cards, and I don't know. I just think that's interesting. Um, and I'll move on past that when we get into champions. Mhm. Those, yeah, yeah, and oh yeah, and, and for the oh yeah, and for the physical TCG, right? Because they've been doing all those full arts. I say it's like a little bummed that like the flashiness of those original like 2015 cards is gone, but I can't deny that they're gonna go insane on whatever like illustration rares they have because those genuinely are so beautiful. I love those. Especially the one recently from the most recent set where it was the mangaka Fist of the North Star. He did a card for Palafin, and I thought, yeah, and I thought that was super cool. I'd like to see a lot more stuff like that. And I like that they're experimenting more with the art. Yeah, yeah, that's it. It's always a lot of those interesting little details that I see, and I'm like, damn, I wish they. Yeah, I've got the Gardevoir line, and yeah, and closing it out with TCG Pocket, and not much to really say here. Kind of the same stuff. I actively do play TCG Pocket though, um, so yeah, and the thing it's not even that I like play it. I just like opening the packs, and then some days, like if I'm in class or something, I'll like open up a battle, because it is kind of fun. It's a bit more simplistic of the actual game. It's actually, yeah, I have. It was years ago that I played that, but it's pretty much exactly like that. Yeah, it's fun. I wish. I wish they would do a because I know they have like TCG Live, which has like been around for ages. Um, I kind of wish they would do that with TCG Pocket, since Duel Links also has a like a PC version and phone version. I just think that would be kind of neat. Um, but yeah, not much else to say there except it's probably going to be another cool set. Now, moving on to the good stuff. Starting off with Pokemon Champions. Um, what do you think of it? What was your Yeah, right. Oh yeah. Oh, all good, all good. You're all good. Awesome. Oh yeah. Um, absolutely. And I think it's an interesting concept of them having kind of this competitive based game. It kind of like you said, like I thought they like killed Showdown. I think Showdown has its own merit considering you can quickly build a team, copy it into your game, and then run it however you like. Um, but for this, uh, I think like the gameplay really interests me because one thing I saw was that there were several gimmicks being used in one. At least the trailer showed the idea of several gimmicks being used in one one battle, and I think that's an interesting concept to think of like. And I was talking about this earlier. If we could do like a Terra Fairy like Mega Rayquaza like that, but but it but it's a reasonable question to ask though, considering like it's not necessarily like intruding on the Mega Evolution, considering like all of what Terra Evolution or what Terra can't talk. What terrestrialization does is just like change your typing. So right, yeah. Well, and even with that, I think Mega Evolution was a bit shoehorned into Gen 7, so it kind of it felt weird with a new gimmick with the Z crystals, and then you get like Mega Evolution like later, and I don't know, that just felt really odd to me because I didn't really use either. If I'm being like fully honest in my playthrough, I understand for competitive it's like an entirely different thing, but yeah, it's yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I think it'll be at least if we do get like multiple uh like gimmicks at a time. I think at most it'll only go to like stacking a Terra type on top of it. I can't imagine like I I know it does sound like a lot, but I feel like if they were to do it, I feel like that's the only way they could do it because I think anything else is insane. Um, yeah, yeah. I think it just sounds more batshit in my head, and a small part of me wants to see that, but at the same time, I know it's gonna break the entire meta. Jesus Christ. Yeah. Oh my god. Nope. Nope. I'm good. Um and before we on to a couple other different questions. Do you think they're gonna bring back Dynamax for this? Or do you think that's probably left in the past? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I I imagine Dynamax will probably be there. And in recent memory, I go back and look at some VGC stuff, and I know Mega Evolutions are like the thing that everyone wanted back. But in some capacity, like looking at the deeper aspects of Dynamaxing, I kind of as a concept, I don't want to say I like it better than Mega Evolution, but I think it's more interesting than Mega Evolution at the very least. At least in like mainline games, because like with Mega Evolution, you Mega Evolve and you're basically like that for the rest of the game. And you steamroll or you get steamrolled. Um but with Dynamaxing, I think it's interesting that you have like a limit on it. And granted, you can't really use all your moves that you have like you can with Mega Evolution, but I don't know. I just think it's an interesting concept in my mind to kind of balance out like which one's better, and maybe that'll be a topic for another day. Um, go ahead. Yeah. And I'm yeah, right. And I'm not arguing that like it's not broken, right? I just think like conceptually it's obviously yeah. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to get at. Um yeah. And to close this out, two little questions here. Uh First one, do you think it'll have singles? Yeah. 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 I I think especially from like a casual standpoint, you see Pokemon Champions, you're like, oh, I want to do some battling online. I feel like singles is a lot more approachable for a lot of casual fans than it is like yeah, yeah, um, yeah. I've never quite understood that either, but it's the way they want to it's the way they want to do it, and I suppose there are more strategies that could be uh done within that. It might be more of like a challenge thing, you know. But I don't know. I just think it's interesting to think about that. And on the topic of competitive, uh, something I kind of threw around with a friend earlier. Do you think this could be the new platform for competitive? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. And it yeah. And the thing with it is that it's releasing both on Switch and mobile, so I don't think it's gonna like you're gonna have to pay anything for it. Um, but I don't really know where I stand on that because I feel like it seems like an easy gateway to just like dump all the Pokemon on there. It has access to Pokemon Home, has access to, as far as we know, or can assume, all of the gimmicks. So I feel like it'll be interesting to see that get current like constantly updated, and if that's going to be where that competitive style like takes place from now on, or if it's just like just what it is, just a supplemental little battling game. Yeah, Yeah, I mean, and if I'm not mistaken, Pokemon Home will still show that they hold these items. So you could like theoretically go in to Sun and Moon, transfer it over to Home, or transfer it over to what bank, and then transfer it to Home. And it in theory it still holds the crystal. I don't know if there's any truth to that. But I know it has like models for like Mega Evolution, and all the dino. Yeah, yeah. I feel like it's a really fair point to make. But I don't know. We don't even have a release window for this. So, um, but yeah, I'm very excited for Champions. But on the topic of laziness, the the cream of the crop here, Legends ZA. Uh, what is your general first impressions of it? I Right. Yeah, which no, and even then, I mean, it looks like it just went back to be looking as good as like Sword and Shield. Because as people would like dog on that game, I don't think it looks awful. It obviously could look better. It obviously could look better, but like it's a lot. I think it looks a lot better than Scarlet and Violet. You know, and I feel like it went back to that. But even if you go back to the stream earlier, you can tell. I think I said like from frame one, when zooming into when zooming in on like the bus station, I could tell this was in engine, and I was like, oh, this looks buns. Oh, this looks like shit. I've been seeing people say, "Oh, it looked really smooth." I saw the drops. You can't get it past me. Yeah. Yeah, and well, it's unfortunate just because I don't mind frame drops, right? Link's Awakening on Switch is one of my favorite games just of all time. I love playing through that game. Um, that game drops frames like crazy, but it's nothing like unplayable. Scarlet and Violet gets to the unplayable point. Like obviously, yeah, frame drops are frequent, but that unplayable point isn't as frequent. But it's still very bothersome. And the fact that they haven't even updated it after what 2 years, and it's like two two different DLC drops, and all of them still have the same frame rate issues. Or even yeah, and that just goes back to my deeper problems with Scarlet and Violet, which hopefully, obviously, this isn't replacing Scarlet and Violet. This is technically the next mainline game, um, since like Arceus is also mainline, but it's not like mainline. Like it's not like a, what I'm trying to say. Like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, those starters really contribute. Right, right. I don't know why they doubled up for Gen 2. That it feels like incomplete. I and that's what I saw. I thought that's what I saw someone else say earlier, is that could have been like Turtwig's spot, or what a lot of people were assuming was that the starter lineup was going to be I think it was Piplup, Snivy, and then Score Bunny. And I think that serves a pretty decent lineup, especially like fitting of the Kalos region. And then yeah, Score Bunny. Uh yeah, and I think that's where my problem with the new three come in, is that like, not that, you know we haven't seen everything from these because we might get new forms. I and I can't really conceptualize what that looks like, like in my head, and that obviously may be just like a creative block for me, but like Hisui had its own feel because it was like in the ancient time. uh so they took these like final starter designs and they took it in a bit more like ancient Japanese style. uh yeah, yeah, yeah. And I hope they do. I just like I and this kind of stems from Colos's problem of kind of having an I and I that and an identity that's not really its own, because Kalos took a lot from like Gen 1 with like the sleeping Snorlax, and you get the Gen 1 starters and all that. And for like a France-based region, especially like where we're going to be in Lumiose City, Lumiose doesn't really have its own like culture or things to explore. Even in the old X and Y, you can get lost in it, but like not like a good lost. It's like you can't go in any of the buildings, at least to me. Yeah, Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I guess what I was getting at with that was like it compared to like other of the like the larger towns in other Pokemon games, it feels like the thing about Lumiose is the Lumiose Tower. You know, like Hoenn has a very it has its own kind of feel to it. There's a lot of smaller towns. There's not especially like Omega Ruby. There's some like new redevelopments like with New Mawile. Um, it's God. I Holland I guess isn't really a good one to choose in terms of like it Hoenn's culture. It yeah. You, Unova is just very bright, and I think this is much better. This is actually a much better example of this. Is um, Unova is a much more like bright and bold region, um, and it kind of shows a lot of that in a lot of the cities, uh, wherever you fight Drayden, that whole yeah, Opelucid is very like it's built almost on like ruins, so the town feels very old, and there are like a lot of statues, especially in the gym where you have to use like the dragon heads to move around, and I feel like it's very that's very Hoenn. It's very Unova, like that fits in with its very bold nature. Um, True. Um, but I feel like Kalos doesn't have a lot of that, and I think that's a good point for this game to actually expand on that. Yeah, 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 yeah. His I think Kalos needs all the content he can get, especially in X and Y. It was very. We never even got anything like for Kalos after X and Y released. It felt very yeah, because they remembered he they remembered he existed, and it was like, oh fuck, we didn't do Pokemon Z, we didn't do something with him. Yeah, 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 and it's I don't know. I think this is a good chance for them to give Kalos some sauce. Um, oh, yeah, I I don't mind the jacket. I kind of like the jacket. Take that damn fedora off. And oh, with the male trainer, I don't know what it is with all the male trainers and their fucking skinny jeans. All of them wear skinny jeans, and I think the only ones I can maybe give the pass to is like the Gen 5 trainer, or both of them. Um, yeah, and I'm very biased towards Brendan and May. I agree. I agree. I think he's definitely, god damn. Um, yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, I think that's totally fair. Especially the I don't like your partner or whatever in the game. Um, I forgot their names, but the fact that it changes the gender depending on what gender you pick, uh, I was neat. I didn't think that was a problem. I just it's kind of I don't know. If they're two different characters, it's fine. If they're like siblings or whatever, that would make sense. But I just it just kind of feels so true, so true. Um, yeah. Um, but yeah. What did you think about the real time combat? Uh huh. I and I am too. I've seen a lot of people call it real time. I don't really think that's a like fitting. Yeah, I to me, I don't know if it's a fitting description because from the gameplay, um, it's very reminiscent of Xenoblade. Um, because Xenoblade Chronicles is you run around in like a smaller confined area and you're fighting, you know, a bigger thing. But you have like a set amount of moves. You use those, and each of those have like a timer, and you have to use those to like string combos. They have to wait. It's very hard to explain, at least for me, because it's very in depth. But this seems like a very simplified version of that. And when I think real time, I think like Final Fantasy VII remake. But obviously, you know, there are like cooldown times for that as well. So I think real time is a somewhat fitting description, with some yeah, which is very interesting for a Pokemon game. I think that's interesting that they ask more from the player rather than like pick a move, press A. Uh, no, you're good. Yeah, I guess we'll have to see. Oh, that's funny. That's funny that there's maybe the option that they just could directly attack you. Yeah. Um. But yeah, I think it leaves a lot of room for this specific style of game, because I saw someone, I think it was Centro Leaks, try and argue that this is basically what Pokemon, like what mainline Pokemon is going to look like from here on out. And I thought that was a very bold assumption to make based off of one trailer for an Arceus game. And when we got Scarlet and Violet, that didn't resemble Arceus at all. We didn't get the catching mechanic from it. We didn't get the roll mechanic. Yeah, yeah, I suppose. I yeah, it's it's just kind of odd to me how that was an assumption, and especially for mainline, I find it hard to believe that they're going to change up the main line uh that much like that. No, no. And Arceus, or the Legends, I suppose we could call it a series. Granted, it's not even like out yet. Yeah. Um. So far, it seems to be a more experimental series. This is where they want to do different things with the franchise. And while they have considered it mainline, this hasn't been the ground for the series going forward. So yeah, I thought that was an interesting thing to hear, and I was like, no, that's just a wild thing to say. Yeah, yeah. I'll give it to Centro when if that happens. Oh my god, dude. They because that I'm pretty sure that was the same animation for like if you fall down in Scarlet and Violet. So, and granted, it looks very jank right now. And we do still have a lot of time before the game comes out. And if it's anything like the BDSP trailers, though those games still aren't good, don't get it misconstrued. The game did look better as more trailers came out. So, ah, I was gonna write that in my notes and I forgot. Why? And this goes back to the looks topic. Why did they take that out? I feel like that's like a shoehorn. It like you can, of course, go back to like making the Pokemon look more vibrant, because that's what these models are. Like they look a lot more vibrant, like color wise, but I, all of their texture is gone, and I feel like that is just a weird thing to remove. Obviously, it could come back, when we see more trailers and whatnot. But I feel like it's a very odd thing to add, towards the end of development. Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like it's weird to say that they should go back and make all of these models for like hundreds and hundreds of Pokemon, but at the end of the day, like this is the series that they've created, and if they want to go forward with it, you got to do something to these models, like something. If you're gonna keep using the XY models for undisclosed amount of time, you need to make the outside also look better, because it just feels off. Well, not that the models look bad. They just yeah. And that's where the other part of it comes in. It's like you guys are the biggest media franchise of all time, and no, no. So, well, it's like, uh, it's it's not a. I feel like it's not a lot to ask, but at the same time, it kind of is. But at the same time, you guys make billions of dollars, right? Right? But you don't have to stay 50 people, because I believe Game Freak is just like 50 guys, and it's like, dude, are you kidding me? Like Atlas, despite being a significantly smaller studio, has multiple different dev teams for their games. Granted, I think they outsource to like P Studio, because I don't believe P Studio is a part of Atlas. Um, Maybe just help from different studios, literally anything. I mean, even then, like put Ilka to work, with you, right? If you have access to them, have them work with you. Don't just like put them on a new game. Like Persona 3 Reload was made by an entirely new dev team at P Studio, while the main Persona series was given to the older devs. And I think it's a very good way to kind of test the waters with like new games going forward. And the fact that they haven't done it, just it's just very disappointing. And I think that's where a lot of my feelings come with this uh, Pokemon Presents, is that this was basically half of like the announcement, and I just have is not a good first impression. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And and on some of the plus sides, at least, like we said, the gameplay looks good. I hope they optimize it, because you're now that you're asking more from the player, you're asking also more from the game to run. So if real time combat starts dropping frames in combat, we're cooked. You're cooked. Yeah. 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 Um. One sec. Um, and I do agree. I think there will be a Switch 2 version. At least I hope. I really don't know what to. I don't. Yeah, yeah. And, and I think my only argument against that is that the Pokemon Company is known pretty well to support the older console for a decent amount of time. We got Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon what a year into the Switch's life, and we got Black and White 1. Black and White 1 came out like towards the end of the DS's lifespan. And Black and White 2 came out, yeah, the 3DS was already out for I think a year at this point, and it was like, really? Not that that game looks bad, but it's still like, I don't know. I just, yeah, yeah, right, yeah, yeah, The- yeah. I, I agree with that fully, especially because we don't know obviously what the whole Switch 2 lineup looks like, and we'll see that more in April. That we'll see that real soon. Um, it's just a matter of, are we going to see this game at that press conference? I think as a, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of an interesting question to at least just like a mention, because if they are releasing a Switch 2 version, I think it's important to say that. And obviously this was made before the Switch 2 was announced, because I feel like that Switch 2 announcement, just as a sidetrack, that wasn't supposed to happen. I feel like I yeah, yeah, yeah. I feel like it wasn't supposed to happen then, because uh, of all the leaks that were coming out, and then they were like, guys, those leaks aren't real, and then they're all the people in the comments essentially, not that I think they pay attention to a lot of it, but there is a lot of outcry from just general media being like, where is the Switch 2? I feel like that was more of like a pressure release, being like, okay, here it is, we'll do it in April. I think that was to kind of save face. And I could be wrong. There's no real way to tell, but um, yeah. So yeah, that's really all I have to say. I do hope we do get a Switch 2 version, and I hope the game looks better going forward. Um, he needs anything he can get, but yeah, I think that's probably gonna close it out for today. Thanks for doing this with me. Like you, I say that like you're not part of this channel as well, but as we're doing this online, um, hello. My camera's been blurry this whole time, so that's fun. Personally, I like sleeping in the attic. I think it, it's comfy up there. It's in our lease. All right. But yeah, that's probably gonna be about it for today. Um, but yeah, we'll see you guys around, and maybe when more information comes out, like with the Switch 2, let's try and come back and do this again. Hell yeah! All right, man. Well, I'll see you later.